Hey everybody, this is Jillian, and we're going to go over some of the rules of exponents. Now, as soon as I say this, I bet you're going to get it. Let's just do a little example over here before we get started with the rest of the lesson. So if I have two, you know that a dot is the same as multiplication. Okay? A dot is the same as times. So if I have 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's the same as 2 to the 7. However, it's also the same as, isn't this 2 to the power of 3? And isn't this 2 to the power of 4? And isn't this 2 to the power of 3 times 2 to the power of 4? So when you break it up like this and you do several examples, you start to notice that, wait a minute, when these bases are the same, the exponents, when you multiply, if you add the exponents, you end up with the total exponent. So let's take a look here. That shortcut would then be 2 to the power of 3 times 2 to the power of 2 is the same as 2 to the power of 3 plus 2, which of course is 2 to the power of 5. Now here, this is very different. This is not multiplying. This is adding. So here, 2 to the power of 3 is 2 times 2 times 2. So 2 times itself 3 times, so 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8. So 2 to the power of 3 is 8, plus 2 to the power of 2 is, well, 2 times 2 is 4, and then of course you know that adds to 12. So clearly this is very different, because what's 2 to the power of 5? That's 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16, times 2 is 32. So 2 to the power of 5 equals 32, and this is equal to 12. Again, these are not the same as you can see multiplying and adding. Let's look at dividing. So if you have, let's do a dividing example. Let's say we have 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 all over 3 times 3. Okay? So that is, well, we know that these would reduce and cancel, and we'd just be left with 3 times 3, which is 9. Or we could say we're left with 3 squared, right? 3 times 3, we know all of that is the same, 9 or 3 squared. But we can also write it like this. We can say this is 3 to the power of 4 over 3 to the power of 2. And take a look here. You can see that when you're dividing, you just subtract the exponents, just like when you're multiplying, you add the exponents. So here, this is 3 to the power of 3 divided by 3 to the power of, what's that up there if there's nothing up there? It's a 1. So let's do this. This is going to be 3 to the power of 3, that's dividing, so it's 3 minus 1. And 3 minus 1 is 2, and 3 squared is 9. Now this is very different from subtracting. Here we've got 3 to the power of 3, so 3 times 3 is 9, and 9 times 3 is 27. Here's another example of how it's so important to know your times tables. Minus 3, well, 27 minus 3 is 24, and that's nothing like that. So as you can see, when you're multiplying, powers and the bases are the same, you add exponents. When you're dividing, powers and the bases are the same, you subtract the exponents. And if you're adding or subtracting, then you just treat each one separately and then add or subtract as it says. Now let's take a look at subbing in.